Kent Summers here with, no need to introduce this guy, but I will, Larry Fitzgerald in front of them.
First time we did this. I've never done this with you before, man.
Just for your foundation, we did a few times in front of the Madden Cruiser. I imagine you met John Madden a few times. You got any good stories, or what was your impressions?
Yeah, I love Coach Madden. He was really good to my family, and I remember the first time, the Dallas Cowboys came up and played the Minnesota Vikings, and I was a young kid, and I remember my dad, he asked, if we wanted to see the bus, and so I can't remember how old I was, but I was in my early teens, maybe 12, 11, somewhere around there, and he invited us on the bus, and he gave us some sodas, and we sat there and talked to him for like 20 minutes. It was awesome. And then a lot of years after that, my Devin was, I think he was about close to being one, barely starting to walk. And Coach Madden, I was in the Oakland area, and he let me come up on the bus, bring him on the bus. And, so Coach was just like, he was so easy to be around, so humble and accommodating. Like he was a breath of fresh air to be around, and did so much for the game, and still doing something for this younger generation now who didn't even know he coached, but that doesn't know him, through his video game. And, I was on the cover, in 2009 of the game. So, like, it means a great deal for me and his legacy.
We're here at the Super Bowl, and other than playing in the one you did, what's your favorite Super Bowl memory?
For sure, it's my first. So I remember waking up Super Bowl Sunday, 1993. I think it was 1993, and the Washington Redskins were playing against the Buffalo Bills in Minneapolis. And my dad woke us up and he said, "What are you guys? You gonna watch the game on TV?" He said, "Yeah, we can't wait, Dad." He said, "No, you guys are going to the game." And I remember jumping up and down on the couch, and like me and my brother were running up and down the stairs, because like you can imagine going to the Super Bowl and just complete surprise. And we were right in the end zone, probably 18 rows up, and the fireworks, the halftime entertainment. I remember the seat cushion. I still have the seat cushion in my room at my childhood house. It's like on the wall with the program right next to it. It was an experience I will never ever forget. And I was just so touched and honored that my dad would, give us those tickets, because he could have easily sold those tickets, and we would have probably been better off as a family, be able to go to vacation in Hawaii or something cool. But he thought enough of us to take us and give us that experience, and it was one of my greatest childhood memories.
You, for the first time, did some television work this year on Monday Night Football. How was that experience? Was it harder than it looks? Is it something you want to continue doing?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have the opportunity to do more in negotiations right now, and I really enjoyed it. It gave me an opportunity to talk about the game that I love, and be able to kind of break it down in the way I see it, right? And it's an open book test, in my opinion, because you can watch as much tape and you can get as much information. If you're talking about, let's say in a segment, Tampa versus the Falcons, right? If I want to call the players or call one of the coaches, to get a little bit more information, I can do that. So it's really about how much you want to put into it. I really enjoyed it my first year, where they put me in position to be successful. They gave me, a lot of coaching. I actually hired my own coach, and Jerry Madeline, who worked with me twice a week, going over my podcast tapes and also the stuff that I was doing on TV. So, I feel like when I watched my tape early in the year to what I was doing later in the year, there was drastic improvement, and that's all you can ask for.
You've got a contact list that I've never seen anything like it, the number of athletes who are in it. So you've known Tom Brady for a while. Did you have an inkling that this was going to be it for him?
Yeah, I had a strong inclination. Like, he didn't ever came out and said, "Fitz, I'm done." But when I went out to the game, I had a strong feeling prior to that this was probably going to be his last run. And, I hadn't been back to Cardinal Stadium, to watch a game really. And, I wanted to go and watch the game. It wasn't a great game by any stretch of the imagination, but, seeing him lead a game-winning touchdown at the end of the game. And then after, came out and talked with us for about 30 minutes before he got on the team bus, and talked to my kids about the importance of education and, what hard work and dedication is all about. And it was really good for my kids to see, not only is he the greatest football player of all time, but he is a man that's humble. He's gracious with his time, cares about other people, and like those are some of the things that really resonate with me outside of all of his championships.
Why'd you stay away from games for so long after leaving football?
Well, I think it was important to kind of give yourself that break. Obviously there's a lot of emotions that go into doing something that you've done for 35 years. I know you're going to probably write for another, 25 years, but when you get finished doing that, there's going to be, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the contacts, going into the locker room, having the relationships and things that you did for such a long time. And I think the natural thing is for you to kind of try to stay close to it, but it's never going to be the same if you're out of it. So I wanted to make sure I got away from it, and I kind of recovered. I would equate it to like losing a family member. You care deeply about it, and the person's never gonna come back, and you just have to kind of mourn it. And now I can really appreciate it now. When I go to the game and I can watch it with my kids and not have like any really strong feelings for it.
Speaking of the Cardinals, they're coming off maybe the most tumultuous season. And that's saying something because, you've been through a few of those. But, and Kyler Murray is such a lightning rod. What do you think has to happen? What do the Cardinals have to get from him to maybe take that next step to reverse things?
Well, Kyler, he's proven already in his few years. I'll wait till that. Kyler's proven over the last few years he's such a dynamic player. He's transcending talent. When he's playing at his best, it's hard to argue that there's, 2 or 3 players that are better than him in the league. Like, he's just that talented in terms of his throwing and his ability to run, scramble, improvise. The plays that he makes are like nothing else anybody can do. But you hear about all the issues that have happened over the last couple of years as well. So I think it's very important for them to be able to hire a coach that can really get Kyler to understand, for the team to be great, there's natural sacrifices that great players have to make. And if they can get a guy that Kyler respects and the respect is mutual, and they understand that they have to work together to get things going in the right direction, I think the sky's the limit. But it has to be the right personalities.
You as a you came into the league, you're 21 years old, turned 21 your first training camp. You needed tough love early. Is that what he needs?
I don't know if he's a lot different than I was. I didn't really say a lot when I came in. I kept my mouth shut. I kind of stayed to myself. But I was lucky to have a guy like Kurt Warner come in my second year. I was really lucky to have Emmitt Smith, and I spent a lot of time with those guys, and I listened to them. I wanted to hear what they thought, what I needed to improve on, and I took it. They told me a lot of things I didn't like to hear when I was young, but I knew if I wanted to be like them, that those are the things that I needed to work on, and so I was willing to do that. And it's the problems with him have nothing to do with his ability or his talent, and that's most of the problem. You look around the league at the quarterbacks, they don't have the ability to take their team to the next level. They've reached their ceiling. Kyler doesn't have a ceiling. Physical, he has no ceiling. He can be as great as he wants to be. It's just the little things, once he buys into that and really makes a concerted effort to do that and ingratiate himself to his teammates and things of that nature, then it'll be special.
Do you? Phoenix is hosting a Super Bowl this year, and you're involved in that as the executive chair. Well, what have you learned about staging a Super Bowl that you didn't know before?
Kent, I had no idea everything that went into it. I remember going my first Super Bowl. I remember landing in Tampa, get off the plane, get on the bus, go to the hotel. Somebody hands you a room key, gives you a schedule. We have meetings at 7. You don't have any idea how the buses got there, how the hotel was set up with the meeting rooms and the projectors and the chairs, and how my bags got to my all of these things that you don't even take in consideration because they're just done for you, right? And now I get a chance to kind of look behind the proverbial curtain and see the contracts that are negotiated, the money that's raised for nonprofits, hiring 5,000 volunteers, getting 40,000 credentials for vendors, and all type of things that are going on throughout the week for NFL Experience and other events. It's mind spinning to even think about over the last 18 months of things and conversations I've been privy to. But I think Phoenix is a great place to be able to host these type of events. Final Fours, national championships, Super Bowls, NBA final. We do a really good job hosting those type of events, and it's my hope that we can continue to do that at a high level.
We just got to be better at winning. those championships, right?
Yeah, it would be nice if our teams can participate in some of those big events, but we still want the big events to come to town regardless.
Speaking of Arizona teams, you've had an interest in the Suns. I got to ask you, what'd you think of the trade, getting KD, bringing KD to town?
You know, I was sad initially because I love Mikal and Cam. They are two terrific young players, and you know I think they're both continuing to send. You look at what Mikal was able to do over the last month. You know, without Devin, a lot of time without Chris. I mean, he really was flourishing. But you know, when you get the opportunity to have a first ballot Hall of Famer, Olympian, you know, all-time greats, and Kevin Durant, a walking, talking bucket. You put him with Book and you know a point guard like Chris Paul and a great big man in DeAndre. I mean. We got pretty damn good real quick, and you know you match the lineups up. I don't know if anybody wants that smoke.
Have you ever seen a week like this, a crazy week like this that began talking about trading for Kyrie Irving? The dude climbs a building 40 stories downtown, and it ends with Kevin Durant and haven't even played the Super Bowl yet.
I know. the week's not over yet. You know, you forgot to mention LeBron James, you know, breaking the all-time scoring record. I mean, it has been a really interesting week thus far. But, you know, the fireworks have not even begun to start yet. You know, we got to wait until Sunday.
Thanks for the time, Larry.